The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Anthony Hartwig, Scotty Mincher next to me. As always, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. The big logos above our head there for a reason. It's a beautiful Wednesday, and as we do every Wednesday, as we will do every Wednesday to the end of track season, which, with how good track is in the area, will probably be into June, because I think we have several runners that will be running in state. So we're going to have a lot of running Wednesdays. And this is episode 2. We're going to play it right off the jump with Coach Rick Sipus from Boardman. Today, we have a special guest on Running Wednesday. It is probably one of the best distance runners, not just in the area, but also in the state, Sophia Yon from Lowville. She is continuing her track career at Purdue after she graduates Lowville. So we had a chance to talk to her during her senior season and what she's going through and what she's been through and all that fun stuff. So we're not going to wait anymore. We're going to go right into Running Wednesday, episode 2. Here you go. Anthony Hartwig here with Running Wednesday, episode 2 with Coach Rick Sipus. Coach Sipe, man, how we doing today? How we doing for episode 2?
Life is good, Anthony. Nice to have you back.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We always thank you for your time. And this is our first episode where we're going to bring athletes on. We're going to try to do this every week. And we're going to start today's episode with a very, very impressive young female athlete from Lowville. It is Sophia Yon, who joined us, I believe, her freshman or sophomore year, way back in the day. And now here we are getting you back on a couple of years later to talk more about your career. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thanks for having me.
So my first question for you, obviously, is just what's this ride been like? Obviously, we had you on, like I just said, early on in your career, and now here you are, just so decorated, and you've accomplished so much. Talk about kind of the ride that your career has been and some of the things that you're so proud of that you've been able to accomplish.
Honestly, obviously, it hasn't been easy. Nothing is easy. If you want to be successful, you have to put a lot of work in. But it's been super fun. I just feel very blessed by the way everything has worked out. And yeah, it went great. Freshman year, I had really no clue what was going on. Sophomore year was great. Then junior year, I got injured. So that was just like a low point for me, I guess, but it was where I learned the most. So my junior year, I had the worst season I had times wise, at least in the beginning for a while, but it was probably the best season I had mentally, if that makes any sense. Like I was more, I don't know, I grew in every way except physically, basically. And so using that coming into this year, now I'm healthy. It's kind of putting all the pieces together. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what this season brings.
All right, so you're a distance runner, and I know a big part of being a distance runner, whether it's on the track or in cross country, is the mental aspect of it.
Yes.
It's difficult. It's easily one of the more difficult events, the 8, the 16, and your 5Ks. What are some things you like to hear when you're in the face of adversity out there? I know there's hard workouts that you have to go through, or races that are kind of falling apart in a sense. Like,
Yeah.
what do you tell yourself when things aren't going your way?
A big thing for me has been positive self-talk, because honestly, I believe, and I've been taught that if you're always looking at the good in things and the positive in things, it usually tends to work out better. Like, I just think of like the example of last year going into state in the 800. I was the wild card. I was the 18th seed. Like, I didn't feel like I should have been there or not. Like, I felt like I should have been there, but it was just like I barely got in, and it had never been like that for me. So mentally that was kind of tough, but I just told myself that week and that day and everything, like, I'm going to podium. Even if I didn't like truly believe it, I just kept telling myself that. And you just have to have that positive mindset. And that's what ended up happening. I podiumed. I don't know what happened, but I think it really is just the mindset that changes everything. So whether you're having a good race, a bad race, a good year, bad year, you just always have to have a positive mindset and a good outlook on things, and positive talk to yourself, which was big for me. I struggled with, and still kind of do sometimes, but negative talk, like on myself. It's like I should talk to myself the way that I talk to other people. Like, if I wouldn't say it to anyone else, then I shouldn't be thinking that or saying that about myself. Like, obviously you could be hard on yourself sometimes. That's how you get better. But yeah, have a positive attitude.
Well, that's great. That's one of the. I'm sorry, Anthony. It's one of the drums I beat at practice as often as I can. The power. I always say the power of positive thinking goes a long way.
It really does. And I learned that last year, so I was grateful for my injury because it taught me that.
You know, we're talking about getting through the mental aspects of adversity, but you've also had to get through physical adversity. You had to get through that injury and get yourself back to 100%. Talk about that journey and some of the things that you went through and some of the ways you were able to get yourself back to 100% healthy this season for your last go round.
I just had to make sure to learn from my mistakes. I just had too much on my plate going from my sophomore year to my junior year, and I didn't know how to do things the right way necessarily, or I did and I just wasn't. I don't really remember, but I learned to listen to my body. I broke two of my metatarsals in my foot during my junior year of cross country, but I had a stress fracture the whole season, and I was running on it the whole season and not really telling anyone or complaining that much, like that my foot was hurting. So it's like, that was what happened. That's what led to the worst injury that ended up putting me out for a while. And that it was my fault because I didn't listen to my body how I should have. And I didn't speak up for myself like how I should have. So it taught me, even though it was physical adversity that I had to go through, it really, I feel like, was more mental, all of it, because you feel like after you're out for so long, you're just doing PT or cross training, you feel like, can I still run? Can I still do it? Did I lose what I had? And all that kind of stuff that you have to go through and work through. So yeah, the physical and mental, it was more mental, but the physical went by fast. It was like I healed up pretty quick, but it was just having to get myself back into the shape that I was in before. That was the most difficult part. And your mentality while you're doing that, it's kind of hard to stay positive, because when you go from running your best times ever to barely able to run anymore, I was state last year in the 800, I was doing 8 miles a week because I couldn't, I just had no endurance. I was not in the kind of shape that I used to be. So it's like getting my head around that was hard. But physically, you could do anything that you set your mind to once you have a positive attitude. So the physical adversity isn't as big of a deal in my eyes, at least.
So if you've been really successful for pretty much your entire career,
Thank you.
I'm one of the meet managers for the Spartan Invitational and the regional over here, and
Oh, okay.
whenever I talk to Coach Pav, I always say, "Here comes the big three in D3 with you, Kaylee, and
Yes.
Rachel there." So it's
Yeah.
always fun to watch you guys compete against each other. What's the best piece of advice that you could give to a young distance runner? That, I mean, you're a standout in the area. Like, I'm sure there's young distance runners that look up to you at this point. Like, what's some advice that you would give to them?
I know I've been going a lot this route so far, but believe in yourself, because that was my biggest problem. Even when I was like, my sophomore year was my best year so far of track, and that year was the most miserable for me because even though I was running those great times, I didn't feel like I was doing good, and so I didn't enjoy the sport as much. So yeah, you just have to believe in yourself. You could do whatever you put your mind to. You set a goal and you work towards it. And if you keep that goal in mind and you always work towards that goal, it will happen. Keep your positive talk. Yeah, I don't know what else. Yeah, I think
That's good stuff.
So, you know, senior year can bring a lot of emotions. It's the last time you're
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff. What have you been doing to deal with the emotions of senior year? How have you been handling that?
It hasn't been too bad for me yet. I'm saying that now, but probably next week or whatever, when school's letting out, then I'm going to be pretty upset. But I'm just kind of excited for the next chapter of my life and to see what comes with that and what that brings and what I can do on the next level. I'm just grateful for everything that did happen and the whole high school career and all the memories and experiences I've had throughout high school. I'm just grateful that it happened and I can look back on it and be happy with it. I have a lot of fond memories here at Lowville on the track, like through all my different sports and activities. It's just a lot of fun. So I'm sad that it's over, but I'm more excited that I have more to come.
Let's talk about your training a little bit. So,
Yeah.
What's your least favorite workout and your most favorite workout to do?
Okay. Is this going like for all sports, like for cross country and track, or
let's talk track. So
okay.
you got to get some speed in there for the 800. I mean,
Yeah.
even the mile, they're all fast now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know there's broken eights or split fours, tempo runs. What's your favorite and least favorite?
Sorry, I thought you stopped talking. It like cut out, so I didn't know you were still going.
Oh,
I'm sorry. My least favorite, I don't know if I have a least favorite. My favorite is speed days. I like speed days a lot. I usually do like my least favorite. Okay, I do have one. Tempo runs.
Definitely. Yeah.
My favorite is repeats, especially like the short ones, like 2s, 4s. I like doing the speed work. So yeah.
Absolutely.
It took her a minute, but she found that least favorite one.
Yes, I had to think about it for a second, but
it popped up.
Yeah.
So you talked about next level and going to the next chapter of your life. For those people that maybe not know, maybe they're watching you for the first time or they're tuning into this, don't want to take away your thunder. Why don't you let people know where you'll be spending your next 4 years after high school running track?
Okay. I'll be running track and cross country for Purdue University in Indiana. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. They recruited me my junior year.
Attention juniors and seniors. Tomorrow is the last.
Sorry, I don't know if that's coming through on your thing. It was the announcements. But yeah, Purdue University for track and cross country. And I'm just really excited about it.
Going to be a Boilermaker in the Big Ten. What was it about Purdue, the campus, the coaches, the program that made you decide that was where you wanted to call home?
Actually, I could still remember like the moment I kind of realized that's where I was supposed to be. And it wasn't when like they sent the recruitment letter and stuff, and I didn't know too much about Purdue. I was really excited, obviously, but I still had, it was early in my junior year, so I wasn't really thinking too much about where I wanted to go, but my mom and I were going through a list. We made a list of everything I wanted out of a college, just academically. And the only college that checked off every single box was Purdue. So we're like, well, like I wanted to go there academically, and the fact that they wanted me on their athletic teams was just like a bonus. Like, yeah, sure, sign me up. Like, I'm excited about that part.
When you talk about academically, what career path are you going to be using Purdue to go into?
Engineering. They don't make you choose until your sophomore year, like what way you want to go, but I'm thinking industrial. So I like math a lot. So.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Hey, so if you have any big time meet day superstitions or pre-meet meals that you have to have, or a post-meet meal, anything secretive for your success?
I always have to wear my hair the same. I don't know if that counts, but I always have to have it in a ponytail and a braid, and I braid it 1 hour before. Not that it makes a difference, but I just always do, part of my routine. Eating wise, I always just have like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm a puker. I throw up after I run. So I just have been trying to figure out what works best for me, so that I don't get sick in between my races. But usually it's mashed potatoes. So usually I'll do mashed potatoes like 3-4 hours before, and I'll be fine. But this year, for some reason, I've been throwing that up like every time. So I might have to find something new. So yeah, peanut butter and jelly has been working okay this year. So
I don't know if you know this, but when they take people up in the fighter pilots, they tell them to eat peanut butter before, because it's not that bad coming up, because you're gonna puke in the airplanes going to those speeds. So maybe you're onto something with peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe that's what it is.
So one of the last things I want to ask you is about your support system, your role models, the people that have always been there for you, the people you look up to. Want to give you the time to kind of shout those people out and kind of give them their flowers and take the spotlight off of yourself for a second and turn it on them.
Okay, last time I was on here, I got made fun of so bad because I said my mom, and then I just blanked out and I said the community, so I completely forgot just the rest of my family. So I could redeem myself now. But my mom definitely, she coaches me through everything. So she's been a huge supporter, got me to the point. She's the one that got me to the point where I am now. My brothers and my dad and my grandparents, and they are just like the best support system I could ask for. My brothers are both, Nathan Jan is in high school, and then Steven is in junior high. But all of us work out together. So, and Steven's actually kind of around where I am, fitness wise. So it helps out a lot. We help each other, and it's just fun, being able to do it with them. And obviously the community, again, like I said last time, but the whole village, just the whole running community, like Lowville's community, everybody has just been super supportive, and I can't thank anybody enough for where I am now. So
redemption for Sophia.
Yes.
Got it. Nailed it. So if we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. You are the debut interview on Running Wednesdays. We thank you so much, and we're honored. Good luck the rest of your senior season, and also good luck at Purdue. We'll be rooting for you.
Thank you. I also forgot to say thank you to my coaches. So I would have got made fun of for that too. So I caught it before you let me go. Okay. My coach Lisa and my coach Eric. Thank you to them too. So thank you for having me.
You got it, Soph.
Thanks, Soph. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sophia Jan from Lowville. Coach, you've said in that interview, you know her pretty well. You know what it's like when she's coming to town. And then you look at where she's able to land in her future. Not too many athletes get to go Power 5 D1 out of the Ysn family. Very few. And she's going to be one of them. Purdue in the Big Ten to run for the Boilermakers. How cool is that?
Yeah, she's an elite talent, man. She, like I said, I've known who she was since her freshman year here, and she was always been a standout in the area. Just this past weekend at the Mahoney County Championship, she was first in the 800, first in the 3200, and first in the 1600. So we're talking about a special kid right there. She's going to do good things over there at Purdue. top level competition. I mean, I'm excited to see how much she actually grows when she gets out there too.
She's obviously one of the premier distance runners, so I want you to take the time to just kind of break down for our, casual track fans what it means to be a really good distance runner and what it kind of takes to train for distance and what it takes to be elite at distance running.
Well, if you look at any of the results over the past 20 years here, what you're going to find out is that everything is just getting faster. The 800, I mean, our training group for the 400 and the 800 is a half mile, and we call that a long sprint group. Even the 1500, and at the collegiate level, they're doing that in like essentially sprint spikes. Equipment's getting better, training's getting better. People are just getting bigger, faster, and stronger. So we're just going to continue to see these things getting faster and faster and faster and faster. Over the weekend, I just saw a 17-year-old running a 9:89 in the 100. I mean, humanity's not getting slower. We're just getting faster. So to be accomplished in all of those events, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, it's like the 800 is one of the hardest high school events too. And for her to, like for Sophia in this example, to go from a wild card to the state podium, it's a pretty phenomenal accomplishment for her. So that's kudos to her for being so solid in those events over her entire career here. I mean, not only is she successful now, but she's had longevity with it too.
No one better to lead off the interview section of Running Wednesdays than Sophia Yon, one of the best that we have in the Ysn family. And that whole Lowville running program, we've talked about Michael Balone last week and what he's doing for Lowville. They're all running really well for the Rockets. And they Sophia shouted out their coaching staff. Obviously, the coaches over there are doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, like I said last week, I was excited to see the matchup between South Range and Lowville for the county championships in the small division. And South Range actually came out on top in both the boys and girls divisions. Both Lowville, like Balone and Yon, got their points where they could, but South Range just picked them apart across the board with throwing events, distance events. They were right there on their heels in the sprint events. So, I mean, kudos to like I said, both South Range and Lowville for putting on a show last weekend. It was a lot of fun to watch as we were out there coaching our own team at the same time. So, I mean,
that's where I think track is like wrestling. We just had the whole season of Wrestling Wednesdays during the winter. And wrestling is a sport where you have to get points in every weight category to get the win in a duel. I think track meets are the same way. Like you could have the best runner on the field, but at the same time, if the other team has a better spread out team, they could win the meet as a team. You could have the best runner there and have her or him win all the events that they're in, but at the same time, they can only get so many points.
Yeah, exactly. Like you only get a 4 event max, and even if you win 4 events, that's 40 points for your team in a big invitational. The winning team scored 100, and the Fitch girls were the champions. They scored 160. So if Anthony gets his 40 points, you have to account for 120 points from the rest of your team as well. So you could have the best runner in the entire state, but that's only going to get you about a quarter of the way there. So it's about balance. It's about getting your first runner across high and keeping your second runners or second competitors right on their heels as well. So it's not always about the best athletes carrying their teams to victories. It's about balance as a team in these cases.
Yeah, and as we talk, we're starting to get our feet wet a little bit in the results from the week before. Let's go into dive into the results and all the great performances that we had in the last week since we last talked, and some of the big results that came in.
Yeah, the 2 big meets last weekend locally were the Mahoney County Championships, and that's divided up into 2 divisions. In the boys division, the Boardman boys were the champions over Austintown Fitch. It was the first time in 14 years someone other than Austintown Fitch won that meet. So it was a pretty cool thing to see how excited Coach Phillips was when the boys pulled that off there on Saturday. On the girls' side, Austintown, they squeaked past us 160 to 156. So they got us by 4 points there on Saturday. And then in the small divisions, like I said, the South Range girls and boys were both the big winners over the weekend there. The other big meet that happened over the weekend was the Lakeview Invitational, and this was a meet with a lot of teams with balance with them. The McDonald girls ran away with it, and then the Lakeview boys also ran away with it. So the Lakeview boys won their own meet. And looking over the results from the meet, you saw that there were just a lot of balanced performances from both the McDonald girls and the Lakeview boys. Landon Hall put on a show in the hurdle events there. The Bundys, they did a great job in the throwing events for the McDonald girls there. Simpson from Niles, she put on a show in the sprint events. And then, like I said, I knew the boys' sprints were going to be very good there between the Liberty Leopards, the Streetsboro Rockets, and the Lakeview Bulldogs. And like I said, those three teams battled it out all day, but Lakeview was the team that eventually won the whole thing on the boys' side there. That Christian Davis kid's tough from Brookfield. He put out his first FAT marks in the 400 there. And then then, like I said, it was just a battle in all the sprint relays there. Niles took home a couple of them, and then the Liberty Leopards took home the 4x1 and the 4x2. So there was a lot of good track locally over the weekend. Like I said, the Mahoney County Championships were exciting. A lot of big performances were there. The meet MVPs at the Mahoney County Championships on the boys' side was Aiden Berg from Boardman, and then Mackenzie Riccatelli on the girls' side. In the smaller divisions, Balone and Charlie Reigert from South Range were the co-MVPs because they scored the same amount of points. And then the Ava Vecchione from Springfield she won 4 events, and she was the girls' MVP in the Mahoney County Championships last week. So like a lot of really good things happened out there. Like I said, a lot of good track. It was a little windy, a little chilly, but some of the times are still starting to bleed, and you're going to start seeing some people start to cook. So we're excited to see where this goes over the next few weeks.
As the Boardman representative and the coach down there at Boardman, what was it like to see Aiden and Mackenzie both get MVP and represent both boys and girls track and field for Boardman very, very well down there at the Mahoning County meet?
The individual accomplishments are always fun in those meets, but you want to take home the hardware as a team. Like I said, we missed the sweep by 4 points, or Austintown missed the sweep by several points on the boys' side there. So it could go either way in those meets. And anytime you have a big meet, you're going to end up seeing some kids overperform, some kids underperform, and like you're going to have to find out who's going to pick you up in the middle there. So, like I said, the Austintown girls, hats off to them. They had a great meet, and they ended up with the championship there. But like I say, Kenzie and Aiden, they work their tails off every day for me. We're getting down to like the technical work with them right now to make sure that they're running faster with all the strength that they can in these workouts. So I'm really looking forward to see how things go for them. Like I said, over the next month here. I mean, time is limited. You're only guaranteed 4 more weeks of track at this point in time, especially as a D1 representative school. It doesn't get easy for us at any point during the season.
When you talk about the Fitch girls who won, what are some of the events that they're a lead in? What were some of the difference makers that Fitch was able to go and win? What are some things that they excel at?
Fitch is always, their hurdles right now, they're at a premium. I was really hoping that we could put the meet together and score it separately if we're going to do 2 divisions, because seeing Stallings and Kaysen run against Mike Balone would have been pretty fun to see on Saturday there. Fitch hurdles right now, and sprints, they're just fantastic. I think they're the best sprint program in the entire area. And tip the cap to them. They always have somebody that's going to be very good. Both 4x1s from Austintown, the boys and the girls. The girls 4x1 is what are they at? They're 6th in the region. The boys 4x1 currently is 5th in the region. So, there's an opportunity for both of those crews to get down to state. Deani Thompson, I feel like she's been in high school for about 105 years. She's one of the best around. She put together a really good race in the hurdles. And Megan Vadas, if I'm a name butcher, I apologize there, but she's one of the best pole vaulters in the area. I'm hoping to see her get up on the state podium this year too. So, it's nice to see all them go. They do such a good job over there. anytime we go up against Austintown, I know we're going to bring our best, or we're going to end up getting embarrassed by them.
All right, now that we've gone over the recap of the week, let's go over what's going to be happening this week, or what are some of the big meets that you're keeping an eye on, and some of the big opportunities that these teams have to obviously put their name in the limelight again.
This weekend locally is the Poland Classic. You're going to see the majority of our local teams over there. Girard's going to be there. McDonald, Lakeview, West Branch, South Range, and Lowville get to go round 2 this weekend. And then the Salem teams are going to be over there. So there's going to be some heavyweights among the local competition over there. I'm really interested to see what the Lakeview hurdlers are going to do against the Lowville hurdlers, and then all those distance events in there as well. So South Range is going to have to mix it up with the Salem crew as well as McDonald. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Salem girls are going to be the favorite for the meet, and South Range, man, those boys put on a show last weekend. I think they might be the favorites to win the boys' side over there this upcoming weekend. We are traveling. Go ahead, Coach.
I was saying, I know Moorfield for South Range had a big weekend, so they're really putting together a very good season. They've had great runners for years and years and years.
Yeah, they do. They put on a good show last weekend. Moorfield had a nice 200. He's in the relays there. I'd like to see some more of him racing this weekend. I'd like to see how he stacks up. I believe Warren Harding's going to be there this weekend too. So see how those guys stack up against the Harding sprinters and the Harding jumpers this upcoming weekend here. And then out of town meets that are big this weekend. Avon hosts a big invitational. I believe Austintown's going there. On Friday night, we're going up to Baldwin Wallace for the Berea Titan relays as well. So we're going to run on that Mondo surface to see if we can set some new PRs this weekend as well. So there's a lot of good action this weekend. Again, I'll be all over seeing how things are going to shake out here. So it should be pretty fun. I went over like the regional lists right now. We have so many good competitors in the area. I'm really excited to see how this is going to go. You and I are going to be talking all the way into June about how our kids are performing in this area. So
that's really what we like to see.
The stuff goes. Yeah. I mean, across the board, we're represented in pretty much every single event that you can think of in one of the divisions. And like I said, I really think that we have some teams that are going to make some noise, potentially winning some regionals, and then getting a lot of kids on the state podiums as well.
What is it like for you as a coach to look at that and see the area so well represented, and to be able to be a part of an area that is obviously so good at this sport?
I mean, I think people really sleep on the Mahoning Valley a lot. I mean, I know the population is dropping. However, we still put out a quality product. I'm going to echo what I said last week. There is very, very good track and field coaches as well as cross-country coaches in this particular area. You'll see state champions. Like I said, we saw a state champion in D3 girls cross-country this year from a local school. Like I said, I told Sophia they're the big three. Her, Kaylee Richards, and Geist down there from Heartland Christian. Salem's girls put on a show every year. Like I said, Austintown, they are our rivals, but I respect the heck out of everything they do over there. They do a great job. And then across the board, there are top 4 competitors in the state levels from Brookfield, Lowville, Columbiana, Springfield, McDonald. I mean, I can go across the board right now, and you're going to see a lot of good competitors. I mean, it gets me excited to talk about this stuff because, like I said, I'm one of those. You might be from Youngstown if you take a lot of pride in this type. I'm one of those people right there. I take pride in the area. I do like to compete against everybody, and I do like to win when we are head to head. But once that postseason starts, I put a hat on for every other team, whether they're one of our rivals or not. I want to see these kids do good things.
It's got to be a great opportunity to compete against some of the best in the state and not have to go too far to do it.
Not to be cliche, but iron sharpens iron, right?
And
so anytime you get that opportunity, you got to put your best foot forward and see what you can do. Because, like I said, at the end of the season, 4 people get to advance from the district final, 4 people get to advance from the regional. I mean, you want to be able to beat these people, and if you're not able to, you're going home, and that's the end of it right there.
Hey, there's a reason cliches exist. It's because at some point they worked really well, right?
Yeah, just
They've
because
been
it's
overused.
just because it's a cliche doesn't make it untrue. So
Right. This makes it overused. That's all.
exactly.
All right, Coach. That'll wrap up episode 2 of Running Wednesdays. Man, we want to thank Sophia Yon for joining us and giving us her time. Of course, we are such big fans of hers, and we can't wait to continue interviewing athletes around the area as we continue into episode 3 and beyond next week. Coach, we will see you again next week. We thank you again for your time, and we look forward to having you right back.
My pleasure, Anthony. Have a good one. We'll be back at it next week.
Episode 2 in the books with Coach Seipert. What a great episode, and I want to tip our hat to Lowville and Sophia Yon for being our first guest on the show. Happy that we're able to do this and bring experts on every sports season of sports to get a little bit under the radar. We have Brian Tolnar, of course, who does a great job with our golf coverage during the fall. Of course, Gary Altizer doing a great job in the winter, and now Rick Seipert joins the crew to talk about track and field during the spring. So we are proud that we're able to extend our coverage of all those sports, and we want to thank Coach Seipert, as always, for giving us his time for episode 2 of Running Wednesday. We're going to take a little bit of a break. When we come back, Scotty Mincher, myself, will dive into the scoreboard of baseball and softball last night.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, always brought to you by our good friends right above our heads, Greenwood Chevrolet. In Austin Town, they go the extra mile for you, so you don't have to. You just heard from them in the break about what they think going the extra mile means in their perspective business. For us, following their lead and going the extra mile is, of course, the player profiles, coaches' corners, and insights into these teams that we can give you every day on Running Point. Today, we had Sophia Yon on the show and Rick Seipert with episode 2 of Running Wednesdays. We thank them both for their time. Now we venture into the scoreboard. We will go and recap the action from last night, talk about the final scores. We'll pop up the scoreboard on ysnlive.com, which is always presented by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. The YSN scoreboard is a great tool for our fans, whether you're at one of the games or watching one of our broadcasts. Either way, you don't want to look away from the screen for too long. And the YSN scoreboard is a great and easy way to do that. ysnlive.com/scores is where you can find it. Let's go into the scores from last night. Baseball starts us off. Beaver area able to play a very good Ambridge team and fall just one run short, 4-3, the final score there. United gets all over Lisbon, 11-1 the final for that. Jefferson and Lakeside playing each other down in the 4-4-0. Jefferson gets the 1-run victory, 8-7 the final. Maplewood gets the best of Wyndham last night, 10-7. Your final score there. Middle Ridge edges out McDonald, 8-7. Your final there. Austintown Fitch gets the sweep of Boardman, another 1-run game, 2-1. The Falcons escape with the victory. Brookfield falls to Newton Falls, no pun intended, 4-0 the final score. LeBray, much more of a dominating game than Monday, as they win 17-0 over Camel Memorial. West Branch gets the big win over Carrollton, the Battle of the Warriors, 11-0. West Branch wins, champion all over Liberty, 22-1. Youngstown East all over Cheney, 10-0, the final score there. Crestview falls to Garrettsville Garfield, a sweep for the G-Men, a big sweep of Crestview, 5-3. Your final score there. We go back in Ashtabula County as Conneaut and Edgewood doing battle. Edgewood gets the win 6-4. Ursuline walks off Hubbard 4-3. They score 3 runs in the final 2 frames and mount a comeback over the Eagles and then walk it off 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Beaver Local gets the win over Bel Air, 11-8. Your final score there. Jackson Milton wins over Waterloo, 6-2. We go to the NE8 where Lakeview got revenge over Girard, gets the win to split that season series, 7-6. Your final score there. Orange AFK all over St. Thomas Aquinas, 20-8. Your final. Marlington beats Salem, 12-0. The final score there. South Range gets the sweep over Niles, 9-2. Your final score against the Dragons down there in Canfield. Badger and Pymatuning Valley, well, it's all Lakers, 21-1. Your final score. Poland stays undefeated with a win over Struthers, 10-3. Your final. Springfield gets the sweep over Western Reserve, 9-4. Your final score there. Latonia falls to Jefferson County Christian, 9-3. We have East Palestine beating Wellsville, 9-1. Canfield beats Cardinal Mooney 4-3 in a really big matchup, battle of the cards. It was a good one, lived up to the hype. And then last but not least, Heartland falls to Matthews by 1 run, 9-8, the final score there. We go into the softball side of things. Beaver falls to Montour, 11-5. Crestwood gets the best of Grand Valley, 15-0. We did not get a score in for Orange as that one was postponed. Maplewood takes care of Wyndham on the softball side, 10-5. Your final score there. Edgewood takes care of Lakeside, 16-6. A much bigger fight from Middle Ridge in Game 2 against McDonald as the Rams took a 4-0 lead early, but McDonald comes back, wins in a walk-off in extras, 5-4. That was a 21-0 game on Monday. So what a difference one night makes for both those teams. Beaver Local beats up on East Liverpool, 16-0. The final score there. The rivalry of red and blue goes to the red side this time around. Austintown Fitch sweeps Boardman with a 12-2 win over the Spartans. It's another late spurt for Fitch that gives it the run rule. It was once a 5-2 game after Boardman hit a home run off of Sidney Watts. But then Austintown Fitch's offense flexed their muscles a little bit and once again ran away with the run rule. Brookfield beats Newton Falls 14-4. Your final score there. Campbell gets the win over Cheney in a high-scoring affair, 15-10. Champion all over Liberty for their second win of the year against the Leopards, 28-3. I'm sorry, your final score there. Garfield softball makes it a clean sweep of baseball and softball over Crestview as they win 5-4. I believe that's the same score as the baseball game too. Oh no, Crestview scored one more run in softball, 5-3 in baseball, 5-4 in softball. But Garfield gets to win on both sides. Louisville finds themselves in a pitcher's duel. They prove they can win that way. 1-0 over Dover. They get the dub. 7-2. Jackson Milton sweeps Waterloo and gets the win inside the MVAC conference. Lakeview sweeps Girard in the inning 8, 18-6. Your final score there. Scotty, your Lovo Rockets 12-1 win over Sebring. We have United beating up on Wellsville 23-1. Your final score. Hamatuning Valley gets the doubleheader win over Badger 15-1. Your final score there. Hoban edges Willoughby South 8-7. Your final score. Poland all over Struthers in the inning 8 as they win 16-5 in a run rule over the Wildcats. Western Reserve wins 19-1 to sweep Springfield. Southern Local beats Lisbon 10-2. Columbiana beats Latonia 15-0. Brooke Tater gets her 300 strikeout as Howland beats Warren Harding 16-1. West Branch falls to Arlington for the second time this year, 7-5, the final score, and then Columbiana wins game 2 over Latonia, 13-0. So game 1 and 2 both go the Clippers' way in the EOAC, and those are your scores for the day. Scotty, before we get out of the scoreboard and see what's on your mind, do any of these scores pop out to you?
I was really interested to see going into last night, Austin down Fitch on the softball side against Boardman, and Anthony, you look at that score, and if you just look at the score, you say, another run rule, another game where Austin Town Fitch, they showed their dominance, but Boardman, it was looking like they were they had a chance there for a minute. They were definitely showing some fight, but Austin Town Fitch is just a testament to just how strong that squad is. And just, filled with star power, as it seems like every time they win, it's like numerous areas, not just, one area where they're having success. It's seems to be more often than not well-rounded victories. And I think it's just one of those things where it's just an appreciation of, what they have, and really the whole landscape of softball. It's so much talent in this area. So,
Scotty, when you look at Fitch, and just to attest what you said, I mean, you can play a good game against them, but your margin for error is so tiny with how good they are. I mean, you look at the way this game went and the way last night, Tuesday night, Monday night also, when I'm talking about Tuesday, so my brain sees Monday as last night. But the way Monday night went too, both those games, you felt like Boardman played pretty well. It's just you got to be on Fitch's level to have a chance, and they just weren't. Both games, they had one inning where Fitch just kind of went off and ran away with it. Last night, it ended up being 2 innings, the fourth and the fifth, 3 runs apiece. And that, after that, it was. I mean, if it wasn't over before, it was definitely over after that. But Boardman tied up the game in the top of the second at 1, and then they let Austin Town Fitch score 4, and it's 4-1, 5-1, I should say. Once that happens, you start to feel like, well, what are your chances of scoring more than 5 runs on Sidney Watts? So your margin for error goes way down. And the Boardman hits a home run in the top of the 4th, which kudos to Maddie Weimer. Not many people get to hit a home run off of Sidney Watts, but she gets one, so it's 5-2. And then the next inning, it's 3 runs for Fitch. A shutdown inning, 3 runs for Fitch, 1 run for Fitch. So when you look at it, it's just like you have to play almost perfect, and you have to do it for 7 innings, or you don't even have a chance. And even if you do that, Fitch could still beat you. It's crazy to think about playing that team. Because I felt like even Monday night when I did the game, I felt like, and I told Coach Moots this before, I said, there's not much more you could have done in that game. I mean, obviously you could have played better. There were things you could have done, but I mean, for what Boardman has, they almost played as good as they could. They were missing a couple of players because of illness. Torrey Strines got hurt, so that their starting pitcher was out after 1 inning. Their new pitcher came in, pitched really well, especially until that 6th inning where Fitch walked it off. Because up to that point, that new pitcher that came in really only gave up 3 earned runs against that Fitch lineup in about 4 innings pitched. So she was doing really well. It's like, what can you do? You just have this tiny margin for error. And if you make any mistakes, Fitch will absolutely take advantage of it. If you're a pitcher, you make any mistake, whether it be a belt high pitch or one up in the letters, Fitch is going to crush it, and anyone in the lineup can do it. And then if you don't take advantage of every single tiny opportunity that you have against Sydney Watts, you're probably not even going to score a run against them. There were a couple opportunities on Monday night for Boardman to score a run, and they didn't have that situational hitting. A bunt got popped up in foul territory that was caught by Kylie Folkwine, who is a elite catcher. She'll catch anything back there. Then they had a couple of more opportunities that they couldn't capitalize on. Now, props to in this game, they did. First inning, they go down 1-0. They hold Fitch to 1 run. Top of the second, they score a run. It's 1-1. You feel kind of like, oh my gosh, we're holding our own. And then Fitch just smacks you with a 4-run inning. Just comes out of nowhere. And just, that's how Fitch operates. You think you're playing well, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you made a couple of mistakes. And at that point, you hate to say it as a coach, but game's over. Like 5-1, unless Austin Town Fitch's defense has a complete meltdown, this game's over. You're not gonna just earn 5 runs against Sydney Watts.
Yeah, and you talked about how they just sort of like it's like an ambush. All of a sudden, you think you're in the game, and then
and then you're not, and then you're not really quickly.
Yeah,
just like after that home run, when Boardman feels like they're back in it, they're down by 3. Fitch answers right away with a 3-run inning, and then before you blink, it's back to 8-2, and you're like, "What the heck just happened?"
And I think too, Anthony, I would imagine this plays in. I'm not totally sure. I mean, there's pressure every game. Every time you go out there, there's times where I'm sure, things get overwhelming, and everybody throughout the course of the season, I think they might press a little bit. But when you're playing a team like Austin Town Fitch, I think in those key situations you talk about, and sometimes if you don't capitalize, if you don't get the runs home, I think, those situations when you're playing a team like Fitch, it's like I kind of feel like, you may see their opponent like a Boardman, maybe they're pressing even more because it's Fitch and they know there's so little room for error.
One of the things that I saw on Monday night when I was there, and obviously last night when you look at the stats, I really think when you look at the Boardman hitters, they have the right idea when you're playing Sydney Watts, and this was even last year too when Boardman. I think in the regular season, I'd have to check because those Canfield games were so low scoring last year. But I think in the regular season, Boardman had the most base runners on against Fitch. Still got shut out. Did not score any runs in that game at Boardman last year. I think they had 6 or 7 base runners though. And the step 1 against Sydney Watts, which there's a lot of steps to beat her, but step 1 is lay off the rise ball. If you are swinging at elevated pitches, game over. She'll have you beat before you can even blink. But Boardman did a really good job on Monday, and from what I saw last night, because they only had 6 strikeouts against Sydney Watts, which is phenomenal. That's all you can ask for from a hitting coach. Stay away from the strikeouts, put pressure on their defense. Boardman did a really good job laying off the elevated pitch from Sydney Watts. That's step 1 of like 100 steps that you have to beat Sydney Watts. But first and foremost, you take away your best pitch and you don't chase it. So Monday night and last night, Boardman did a really good job at that. And then you have to navigate your way of, can I get opportunities? Can I get aggressive? I thought on Monday night at least, I don't know, I didn't watch last night's game yet, but I think Monday night at least they were pretty aggressive on the base pass. And even though Kylie Folkwine's a really good catcher, they tried to put pressure on her. They stole a couple of bases. They tried to get bunts down. They just couldn't. Those are like the little things in softball that, like I'm saying, little margin of errors when you're playing Fitch. You got to get bunts down. You got to be able to knock runners over. You got to pass the bat. But if you're looking for positives for Coach Moots, I mean, one, you often scored 2 runs, which is the tied for the most that Sydney Watts has given up all year. Canfield scored 2, and Boardman scored 2, and she's given up 5 runs all season, and it's 2 against Boardman, 2 against Canfield, 1 against someone else. So you'll look at that and say, okay, offense is doing better than most against Sydney Watts. You only struck out 6 times, which is awesome against a strikeout caliber pitcher like that. Then it just comes down to, how do we get our pitching on that level? How do we go up against a lineup like that and not give up 12 runs? I feel like if Boardman kept it within like the 6 run, obviously you're not going to probably score 6 against Fitch, but I feel like they wanted to keep this a run rule, keep this out of the run rule, at least for morale and for confidence, because when you look at that result, it's hard to say 12-2 we played well. But you really did. You really did a lot of things right if you're Boardman. And I think they're going to take, obviously what they can from these 2 Fitch games and the rest of their schedule going into tournament time. Looks like, they're games that are winnable for Boardman. They're tough opponents for sure, but they're not Austintown Fitch anymore. They're not Canfield anymore, and they're not Howland anymore. So when you're not playing Canfield, Fitch, and Howland in league play, you got a better chance of getting wins. So hopefully they can take some momentum into the rest of their schedule and take momentum into the tournament if you're on Coach Moot's side, talking about the Spartans. And then talking about Fitch, I mean, I think Coach Ward, he said it in his post-game interview on Monday when I was there, there are definitely ups and downs, and there's always ways to get better. They're going to look at these games and go, there were things we didn't play right. Like we made an error in each game. Our walks were elevated for Sydney Watts. Our offense didn't do everything right. There were some innings where we were leaving, people out there. So Fitch is going to look at both games and say, hey, we were able to win on just how good we are, but let's look at these film and let's look at these at bats and see what we can do to get better. Because I'm sure they feel like that it shouldn't have been 12-2. It shouldn't have been close, through 5 innings. They feel like every conference game they should be the dominant team, so that they're gonna look at the game too and say, let's keep getting better, because that's what championship teams do. They don't settle for, we won 12-2, so we're doing everything right, because they'll look at it and say, they'll nitpick and say, what didn't we do right in a 12-2 game?
Yeah, and I know we're just about out of time, but I found it interesting what you said about when you face Sydney Watts, and kind of the opposite of what they would say when you face a knuckleballer in baseball, and they would say, if it's high, let it fly. If it's low, let it go. But it's kind of the opposite with Watts there. I guess if you don't mind, Anthony, I had one final question for you. We talked a lot about Fitch, and you mentioned Canfield and the success they've had, and Howland too. Not just this year, but these last several years. Anthony, do you think this is like for the area when it comes to the elite talent? Do you think this is peak for softball, or do you think it could even kind of hit another level?
I mean, it can hit another level. There are definitely ways that you can have a better, group of players. But right now, for this area, I'm going to say, now, I don't know everything about the 90s or 80s or even the early 2000s before I was watching high school softball. So I'm kind of new to the area's high school softball lore. So if there was an era in the 2000s that I'm missing, or the 90s where we had players from a bunch of different schools that were all at this elite level, then someone can remind me in the comments. But as far as I've seen, and I've been watching high school softball in the area since 2008, I've never seen a more widespread group of elite talent. We've seen elite talent come through for sure. We've seen champion go and win a state championship without giving up a run and run ruling everybody all the way up to the state championship. And they had 2 D1 pitchers on that team. And obviously, we've seen Aaron Gabriel. We've seen players come through this area and do really, really well. But imagine if we had Aaron Gabriel and then Aaron Gabriel, 5 other times in 5 other schools. That's kind of like what we have now. And I've never seen this amount of talent in one time in all these different schools. I mean, you look around and we have 2 Power 5 pitchers in our Ysn family with Sydney Watts and Gabby Grashar both going to not just D1, but Power 5 schools, Penn State and Georgia Tech. And then you have Melina Tothi's going to D1. So 3 pitchers going D1. I mean, no, it's never. I've never seen a time where we've had this much talent in softball before. I mean, you look at Fitch; they're just D1 rattling off everybody. I mean, you have players that are already committed to D1 schools, and then you have players that you just know they're going to be committed to D1 schools. They're just not old enough yet to get there. And same thing with Canfield. I think you have a couple of players in that team that they're not committed to D1 yet because they're not old enough, but they'll be D1 players. I'm looking at Leah Figueroa. It's like, yeah, that's a D1 catcher. And I'm looking at Kylie Folkwine, and I'm going, that's a D1 player. And I'm looking at Kayleana Ray, and I'm like, that's a D1 player. She's a freshman. But, you can just see there's something different about those players. They're different. They're special. They're going to be Division I softball players. And you can see that for a couple of other players in a couple of other places too. It's a wonderful, wonderful time for a softball fan right now.
Yeah, it's to hear that from you, who's covered it for. So I mean, who's at least watched it. I mean, you've been with YSN since the beginning in 2017, but you've been watching it since 2008. So really going on, 20 years. To hear that, it's just like, wow, man. And like, I'm so excited. Speaking of that, I know we got to wrap up here, but I'm so excited. Hopefully next week to make my debut with you, calling a game. Hopefully.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like we're gonna get you on next week. I knew we were aiming for tonight, but I told you before the show. I said I would not blame you if you pieced out on that because it is not going to be a fun night weather-wise. We're going to be bundled up and ready to go. I'm probably going to have like 5 different layers on with hand warmers stuffed in my pockets out the wazoo down there at South Range tonight. So here at YSN, we bundle up, so you don't have to. You can stay at home and watch it on YSN and at the fireplace. We'll bundle up for you. That'll wrap it up for today's show, though. That's a solid reminder in saying that all the games that are going to be on YSN Live tonight, you can find on the live games page, ysnlive.com/live. There have been a few cancellations. Everything it's seen tonight is canceled. Canfield baseball is canceled. I think Jackson Milton softball is out. But for the most part, most of the games that were on today are going to stay on. It's just warm enough to be able to safely go out there and play some baseball and softball. And I'm sure if we didn't have as many cancellations before, these coaches would be like, But since we've already canceled so much this season, I think they're just like, let's go. Let's get out there and play. So we'll have games on the network. Make sure to tune in at ysnlive.com/live. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.